Hi, this is Conrad Zimmerman of FistShark Marketing. If you like our show, we hope you'll consider supporting it with a small monthly contribution through Patreon. For less than the cost of a colonoscopy, we can provide you that same sense of personal violation through improv comedy. Visit patreon.com/fistshark or click the big Patreon button at fistshark.com for more details. And thanks for listening. Now, the last decade has been phenomenal. There's no argument. Like, it's truly the pinnacle of animated entertainment.
Had a great run.
There are some concerns in the writer's room that they might need to do something to sort of punch things up going forward. I mean, they have a huge world, a lot of characters, lots of things that can be built on and things to do, but Springfield needs some fresh blood, I guess is the point.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It needs a little more energy.
Right, and so they've asked us to sort of consider, what might be a good direction to take the series at this point, what the audience is going to resonate with going forward, because people grew up on The Simpsons.
Of course, it was a cultural touchstone. It governed much of what we understand to be culturally relevant.
I did the Bartman. I still do the Bartman.
I do the Bartman every single goddamn day of my life.
But now we need to find some way to capture a new audience, because the show has been running so long that a lot of that entrenched audience that was there from the beginning watching, they're starting to die.
Right. Hashtags. Hashtags come to Springfield.
Ooh.
Everyone gets hashtag fever. Moe's becomes hashtag Moe's. Springfield Elementary becomes hashtag Springfield, hashtag elementary school.
Hashtag Springfield Tire Fire.
Bart invents a new dance. Do the hashtag. It writes itself, which is what a lot of Simpsons writers want in a show.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
Yeah, if they can just have one idea that just sort of references something people will know. And then they just say that thing. Like that episode where Bart had an iPhone.
Sure.
That was the joke, and that's all it needed. I've got an iPhone.
I can totally relate to that, right?
I'm just like Bart.
Now, can you, just a second, The Simpsons is a TV show?
Yeah, it is a TV show.
Can you explain what it is?
You've never seen The Simpsons?
I mean, I've seen TV. I may have been watching The Simpsons show.
Did you ever watch TV growing up, or do you have any memories of childhood, of being a child?
Of being young, sure. I mean,
it seems really, I don't know, kind of odd that like one could go through 30, 40 years of life and not have ever seen The Simpsons during that time.
I may have seen it. I just, no offense to you guys, but the way you're presuming that we're all kind of familiar with this show, that some of us may not have seen.
I find that just very hard to believe that you've not seen it, Paulson. Actually, do you mind if I call you Paul?
Sure, I suppose you could call me Paul.
Okay, so I knew a Paulson who used to complain about podcast in-jokes on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't sound very nice. But anyway, The Simpsons, is it about a family? Is it about real people?
It's about a family. The family is yellow.
Okay.
And that's a humorous thing.
Oh, wait a minute. I think this is the show. It's kind of new. There's a little boy with a gun. Did they all shit in the living room for an hour? Is that the right show?
No. You're thinking of Seth MacFarlane's Family Shit Time Fun Hour. It's an hour-long cartoon show in which a family just shits in the living room for an hour. You're on the money. You've got the exact gag, but it's a different show. It's one of Seth MacFarlane's more popular outlets.
That has more staying power than you'd think. You can watch them do the same basic thing of shitting in their living room week after week. I think there's only one episode. Like, I'm pretty sure there's just one episode of that, and they just keep airing it again.
They just keep showing it again and again. It's always funny.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I've learned, it's that, especially, doing what we do here, it's that one gag repeated over and over and over again is hilarious, and no one has a problem with it.
Well, I thought it was a great show, but I did wonder how you could top it. Like, it seemed to peak early, so that was not The Simpsons. All right.
No, The Simpsons is that's been going for, I think it's 47th anniversary this year.
Really?
It's been going for a very long time. Very funny show, but as we say, it's we need ideas. You don't necessarily have to understand at least modern-day Simpsons to really get what we're going for here. Remember, this is a show in which the primary joke now is one of the characters has an iPhone. So we build off that. How about this? Donald Trump comes to Springfield.
Oh, yeah, and he does.
Not a lot. I'm thinking most of the episode he's just standing there while other characters point and go, hey, look, it's Donald Trump. I reckon that'll have the audience rolling in their seats.
Because we're all collectively pointing at Donald Trump and saying, that is him.
We all know him.
Oh, yeah.
We've all seen him. Can you imagine what it would be like if he was in your town? The hijinks that would ensue? So many people pointing at him and saying it's Donald Trump. Because it is Donald Trump. That's the thing. That's the thing of it. It is him. He's in Springfield.
He's a Springfield citizen? Is that the joke?
Yeah.
Well, why not? They've
be.
done it before. They've had plenty of well-known people just show up and move into Springfield. I can't see why Donald Trump would have to be any different.
Probably the funniest thing about Donald Trump is he's already so animated. He's like a perfect fit.
He is animated in an animation. That's a capital goof. Okay, that's easy. Let me run this one past the noses of you. Homer Simpson is on fleek. Now, I don't know what that means, but I have seen it said a lot, and I feel like that's all we'll need to carry us through 20 minutes.
Fleek's like a kind of boat or something, right?
A hairstyle? Some sort of boating hair?
I thought it was when you get more than 3 ticks together, it's a fleek of ticks.
Oh.
So you're on a fleek. You're just riding 20
okay,
or
so
30
he'll
ticks.
just be riding around on a fleek.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's like a
so
segue.
long as he says, I'm on fleek, and maybe calls Marge Simpson Bay a few times. Maybe says squad goals, refers to The Simpsons as his fam.
Maybe Professor Frink has developed something to do with fleek.
Yeah.
I don't know, some wacky thing.
Just some, yeah, like, I think that we could write this script right now. Hang on. Right. Simpsons episode. Season 176. Episode 14. Homer is on fleek. Interior, Simpsons house. Homer says to Marge, hey, bae, Beyonce's lemonade, I'm on fleek. To which Marge says, oh, homie, Taylor Swift is someone you are on fleek. And then Professor Frink is there, and he says, oh, hi, I have invented a flake machine.
Freund
Conrad, I think my impression is better than yours, so I should
fair enough.
I should probably.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm a little embarrassed by it. If I'm totally honest,
I did cringe a bit. You can use it, and then the rest of the episode, cue, 19 minutes, of Homer repeating the word fleek, credits, follow The Simpsons on Twitter.
Done.
That's an episode. Now, if we just take this and replace the word fleek with other words, we can do a whole season.
Yeah.
You like that? I basically kept this script ubiquitous enough, vague in terminology. We just have to replace the word fleek. Because, Beyonce's Lemonade, that's always going to be a great goof. Because I've heard of that album. I've heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me laugh.
I'm getting swole just hearing your ideas.
Oh! Right. Next episode, Swole. Homer totes swole by Beyonce's Lemonade. There we go.
Done.
This shit's writing itself.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Fred.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst. Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred
Oh.
Durst.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst. Dust? Fred.
Durst.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Dust, Dust. Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Dust, Dust, Dust.
Durst.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Dust, Dust. Fred Durst, Dust, Fred Durst.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Durst, Fred Durst.
Durst.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst,
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst. Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst.
Fred Durst, Durst, Fred Durst, Durst.
Dread first?
Fred Durst. Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Durst. Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred Durst, first Durst.
Dust. Fred. Dust.
Fred Durst, Fred Durst, Fred.
Fred.
Fred Durst.
Fred. Dust. Fred. Dust.
Fred Durst. Fred Durst, Fred Durst. Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst. Fred Durst.
Fred Durst.
Fred Durst. Fred? Fred Durst.
Fred
Durst, Fred Durst.
Fred Durst. Dust, Fred Durst. Fred Durst. Fred Durst. Fred Durst. Dust. Fred Durst. Fred Durst. Dust.
Fred Durst.
Fellas, I got some concerning news.
Mm-hmm.
Rick has been found out.
No. Was it a tabloid? Paparazzi? Who spilled?
My instinct is to blame Craig.
Go with your instincts.
Yeah.
Always go with your gut. That's the right move to make.
I had a feeling you'd agree with me on that, so I already greenlit a ritualistic shaving of the hair, and that hair will then be deposited up his jacksie.
So who knows specifically? And are they threatening to expose him? Or...
I'm being told that People magazine have the scoop. And they are indeed, unless they get an exclusive interview with Ricky, they will just go public. So the trick is to get in touch with Gervais and get him to agree to this. I think the only way we get ahead of this story is to try and be involved in its breaking.
Oh, I thought you meant Ricky the Dragon Steamboat or Ricky Martin. You mean Ricky Gervais, the comedian?
Well, that's one way to describe him, I guess.
Yeah, he's sort of a comedian.
I mean, he's sort of funny.
He makes people laugh.
I don't feel like it's intentional.
No. Well, I mean, he's not really guided by much sentient thought.
Right, well, obviously.
There's a lot of conflicting thoughts going on in there.
Well, there's just a lot going on in there, frankly.
Well, yeah. A lot of bustling and bubbling and shrieking.
And the way he just sort of moves through a room, as if he's pulling in 20 different directions at once. It's, yeah.
To be honest, I think people were bound to find out sooner or later. The smell alone, not to mention the squeaks.
Well, there's only so much you can hide, right? And as the weight was reduced, so to speak, I feel like we just getting closer and closer to it blowing out. So maybe this is for the best.
Yeah, Paul, sit down. I'm gonna have to break something to you. I hate doing this. I hate telling people about this because of the horror that it tends to invoke. With the exception of Craig, who I liked making him lift up the sack and lick what was underneath.
Yeah,
because that was funny. But
the taint, you mean?
No. I'm talking a very literal burlap sack.
Oh.
Which serves as Ricky's skin. Ricky Gervais, the popular comedian, was discovered in London by a dandy in a top hat with a cane, who sought to charge 2 bits of gander for this barely sentient freak of nature. He's a rat king. Paul, he's a rat king.
A rat king? You mean like on Ninja Turtles?
No.
The sewer dwelling, rat controlling.
No. That confers far more humanity upon him than he actually has.
Yeah, we're talking about the actual quasi-natural phenomenon that is the Rat King. He is many, many, many rats in a human-shaped sack, with their tails matted together. Ricky Gervais is a humanoid sack of rats.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody caught on until, he's had a very successful career.
Well, we've gone to great efforts to conceal it.
Yeah, well, it got easier as he lost the weight. When he was a big fat sack of rats, there were problems.
Right.
Not all of those rats were joined up properly. Sometimes the tails would get free and some would scurry out of the eye holes, which was always haunting.
Which is how he lost a lot of the weight.
Yeah, a lot of them escaped. Many others just died and sloughed off over time. That's become more common. Sort of the older the rats get, the more congealed they become. So eventually they just kind of shed. Eventually he'll be more sack than rat. Which I think will only be a good thing. I don't know what to do with him. Once this gets out, I feel like people are going to take his ribaldry with a lot less humour. Robert Downey Jr. tolerated his cracks about alcoholism before. Once he found out that they came from a very literal rat king, I think he's probably going to sue.
Sue the rats. Sue the bag of rats that some are rat corpses, I'd assume, and there's even some rat babies in there because...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, they'd be fucking. Yeah. They're a bunch of rats in a sack. What are they going to do, not fuck?
So is there money? Do these rats manage his bank account? Or their bank account? They are Ricky Gervais, the collective of rats?
Yeah, well, the rats have no concept of money.
Which worked out really well for us.
Yeah, Ricky's always been a very good client.
So if we get sued, or he gets sued by Downey Jr.,
well, it's
really
we
us.
lose a lot.
Yeah, it's really
money.
about our bottom line. It's not so much about Ricky.
I just bought a new house, and I don't want it to be Robert Downey Jr.'s house. I just don't like him.
He's smug. He's just a smug guy.
I often think his name should be called Smarmaloid.
Well, that we could work with that. Any attempt he makes to attack our client we could simply say Smarmaloid. What can he say to that? He'd have to back down. I mean...
That is a pretty compelling argument. I think there is legal precedent for it as well. I think in the case of Kramer versus Smarmaloid.
So that's one down and probably thousands to go, though.
Well, he's upset a lot of people.
Yeah, he really does.
Yeah.
He's never sort of been shy about expressing his opinions, such as they are.
Yeah. Well, the thing is if you get enough rats together in a humanoid sack, you tend to create one of the more obnoxious personalities in Hollywood.
So, but he's a bona fide success. I mean, you guys
Oh,
have heard of
unbelievably
it.
successful. He bought me a new house.
So all we need to do, I guess, is to keep that success at its peak.
But we've kept that success at its peak by hiding the fact that he's a rat king.
Well, I mean, how many taboos are there left? We could spin this, because people are hungry for taboos, but every taboo has kind of already been done. I mean, you can't necessarily shock people like you used to, because so much has become normal in this crazy world of ours. But if we were to
Paul,
say...
I'll travel with you on this as far as you're going, but only because I think the way you say taboo is adorable.
Taboo?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. But still, I think I have a valid point. If we can somehow make this about Ricky Gervais overcoming the obstacles.
A kind of like the new 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He's been frowned upon by his
50
peers.
rats in a sack.
He doesn't want to hurt anybody. He has unconventional tastes. He has an unconventional physical form. He's got an unconventional way of existing.
It's a new lifestyle, yeah.
But he does really want to hurt people. That's the thing. Like
That's true.
You don't want to get too close to him.
He's malicious. He once tried to bite Renee Zellweger's nipples off.
Specifically the nipples. That's with all those mouths too. We could have just chewed the whole lady up, but I guess
To say nothing of the amount of mouths on Renee Zellweger's tits.
Yeah, they are. They are also unconventional. I wonder about her coming out of the closet with mouth tits one of these days.
Yeah, well, Renee's mouth tits.
One problem at a time.
Yeah, that's. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Sure. So if we can't spin it and we can't let people know it, then I guess we just need to stop anyone who may announce it, who may spread it.
We need to be very, very aggressive in preventing this from coming out. Because I know we think that, nothing's not recoverable. But discovering that Ricky Gervais is a rat king, that's just going to change the whole thing. It's going to drop his stock tremendously, really more than anything that he could say or do that is offensive or smarmy or rude or anything of that nature. Finding out that he's a rat king? Far, far worse, because then it's going to look bad for rats everywhere. And there's way more of them than people.
That's true. And Dean Cain will be upset with his natural affinity for them.
Yeah, he'll be really, really pissed.
Stop me if I'm wrong. It is legal to have rats exterminated. Is that right?
You're not suggesting that we exterminate Ricky Gervais.
Well, I'm not suggesting we exterminate Ricky Gervais, but I'm saying that if he were dead, then we would have his money and his legacy. We could sell the CG Ricky Gervais to anyone who wanted to use his image in commercials or major television networks, so we could still make the money without actually having the bag of rats man.
People do not react well to computer-generated actors yet. Like, it's not gonna seem lifelike the way that a writhing bag of rats in a burlap sack does.
Guys, I'm stumped. If we can't keep our bag of rats man in the spotlight without revealing he is a bag of rats man, how are we supposed to keep this alive? Maybe we get a bag of cats to distract from the bag of rats, and people will then out that bag of cats.
Are you sure we want Pauly Shore involved in this?
FistShark Marketing is Jim Sterling, Conrad Zimmerman, and Paul Sincere. Theme music by Ben Rama. Additional music by Alazar Chand. Our editor is Alan Smithy. Get more episodes and learn how to support the show at FistShark.com. Follow us on Twitter at FistShark for more of our exploits. Complaints can be forwarded via email to fistsharkmarketing@aol.com. And remember, theft with a gun is robbery. Theft with a ledger is finance. Goodbye.